As you approach the gaming table, the figure of a monster takes shape. This inflammatory evangelist tells you why the gaming system you love is wrong. You've heard this creature called a fate fanatic, a fourth Corian, or a die-hard grognard retard. It's the Addition Warrior. What do you do?
I use Charm Monster.
Invariably, there's some sort of figurative monster rearing its ugly head in our tabletop games. It's rare that we can slay these beasts outright, so instead, we use Charm Monster.
Hey guys, this is Tim and James of Tabletop Terrors. You're listening to Charm Monster, and today we're just stomping through the gore that was once the dead horse that was the Addition Wars regarding role-playing games and things like that. And we really we get in there and we talk about not so much what additions are best or any of that. We just go through and talk about why we think the Addition Wars are a bit outdated and why they shouldn't even really exist at all. So I hope you guys enjoy.
So this is Charm Monster, and we are Tim and James of Tabletop Terrors. Say hello to the nice people, James.
Hello to the nice people, James.
Thank you. And this episode of Charm Monster is brought to you by Absolute Tabletop. Visit absolutetabletop.com for incredible digital supplements of game master advice, lore, and mechanics and things like that. I probably should have prepped something. If I was gonna, check out stuff for things.
Check it out; it's cool. I liked your one-liner, your incredible digital supplements. Yeah, I mean that's about it in a nutshell.
I overtalk. Sorry. So I stand atop a bloody heap, and my boot prints are mushing what looks like chop meat. Okay? This isn't even a dead horse anymore, James. This isn't even a dead horse.
You can't even see it anymore.
It's just
gore.
paste.
Yeah, it's just a mess of gore.
And I wanted to hang a lantern on that from the beginning for people who were thinking, oh boy.
This again.
Here we go. Another Addition Wars thing. But I got to tell you, I looked through this jellied horse corpse, and I feel like there's a point that I don't hear often enough that I think we both had and we wanted to make regarding this. At the risk of being and seeming pretentious, like that high school or college professor who isn't quite getting it, and they think they're Robin Williams from the Dead Poets Society, but they're really
not.
What's the guy? I was just thinking, no.
Eugene Levy from American Pie.
That's way better.
I just thought basically the exact opposite of Robin Williams in that movie.
Right, exactly. So I'm not trying to be overly melodramatic here, but I want you to explain to me why you think a screwdriver is better than a hammer.
Well, I think the important thing here is...
Stand on your desk.
Gotta stand on your desk. They fired Eugene Levy.
Oh, Timmy, my Timmy.
The important thing being, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you have nails, a hammer is generally better. If you have screws...
Hold on. No. Screwdrivers are better than hammers.
Well, no, but I have a bunch of nails that I need to hit into the wood, and I can't do that as easily with a hammer as with a screwdriver.
So this is the part, dear listener, where if I could, I would nudge you with my elbow and go, huh?
He would say the word wink. He wouldn't wink. He would say
wink.
Wink, wink.
So you're telling me, to just draw this out painfully, you're telling me...
We're going to draw and quarter this point.
That
step on this horse a little more.
That it's more a matter of the tool being specific for
the job.
Exactly. And that to me is why I don't think Edition Wars have any merit. I don't think the argument holds water at all for any supplement, or no, it's not supplement, any system.
Because it depends. It depends on so many different things. Firstly, the job.
Yes, and in fact, I wanted to table opinions for just now.
Okay, all right.
Because to me, that's the big one.
Yeah, that's
like, you know, but to me, the first thing I wanted to say is just that. It's like,
what are you trying to do?
Exactly.
What are you trying to do? That answers 90% of what system is best for you.
Exactly.
I don't think there's a best system or a best rule set or a best, because there can't be, because it's too situation specific.
Exactly.
It would be difficult to say, no, this is the best hammer in the world and it's all you need to build a house.
It's like, yeah, well, until I hit them screws, though.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, but I got to screw this into the wall. And you're like, but this is the best hammer ever. I'm like, yeah, but this screwdriver was only $1 and it does the job better than the best hammer in the world.
That right there is the quote. And so, to me, I think that, you know, what I've learned in the last year is that there are way more RPG systems than I realized. There are.
I will say, that's a big one for me. Like that in general, I didn't realize how many tools there were. I'm like, oh, I've got this hammer, and some people like this other hammer, and other people are like, no, dude, you got vice grips out there.
Dude, well,
there are levels and T-squares.
Let me paint it for you like this. So this whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, cool. I've got this rusty toolbox that my dad gave me.
These are so cool. This is awesome.
These are the tools.
These tools are the best.
And those tools would be Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, oh, sweet. This is cool. Got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh, look. They're coming out with a 5th edition hammer. This is amazing. And then I joined some online groups, and it was like walking into a Home Depot.
Exactly. Like, wait. There's more than that?
There's a pipe fitting wrench? Like,
you're like,
what?
but I have a wrench. And they're like, no, but this wrench
this
is
a
this
pipe
size.
wrench.
This is for fitting pipes. And you're like, but what?
So, to sort of drive that home, I think whether you're a player or a game master, which you can't say even dungeon master because there are so many games.
Spaceship master.
Starship master. Be a better starfighter.
I'm a world master.
The point is that you have to decide what you're trying to build, what tool you need.
And even to bring that back a little, you have to decide what you and your players, or vice versa, what you and your DM want to do. Because as a group, you're probably going to decide what the game is.
Correct.
Like what system you're using. You know, it's not a matter of, obviously, if you're the GM, the game master, and you want to play a game, a specific game system, and your players don't, that's just not going to go well. If they're not interested.
No, it's true. So that's the first thing, is that I think instead of looking at which is better,
or what handles this better or that better in a vacuum.
Right. Think about, okay, what are we trying to achieve?
Exactly.
Do we want something that's rules light and really good for storytelling? Great. Then this is the tool to use.
Exactly.
Do we want something that is very tactical and has a lot of rules that we love looking up and keeping track of? Well, then this is what we're going to want to do. Something in between? Pull this tool from the toolbox.
Well, and then there's even sort of what I would call a sub-argument here. Because in the same respect, there are some systems that are intrinsically tied to their stories. Two good examples that come to mind are Shadowrun and Numenera.
Okay.
Shadowrun is a game system, but it comes with the story.
Right.
Whereas Dungeons and Dragons, while it is D&D, it's like, no, Shadowrun is a very specific world like that exists. It's like the Forgotten Realms, but for Shadowrun. But there's not Eberron.
Right. It's the rule system and the lore are intrinsically tied together.
Exactly. And that's not to say that you couldn't use Shadowrun for something else in the same way that you could use Dungeons and Dragons for a modern game.
But the source material is not written that way.
Exactly. The idea is if you pick up the Shadowrun book, it's very likely that you're running a Shadowrun game because the rules are tied to things you do in the game for reasons. Numenera is the same. It's like, no, it's built on that world.
Right.
Now, here's the important thing.
Okay.
You could run those two settings with different systems. So I could run a Fate Numenera game. It wouldn't have the same feel as the Numenera system, that I think fits really well with the setting, but it would still be the same setting if I did it right.
Right.
And it's the kind of thing where again, even in the same way where if you think, okay, well, but the right tool for the job, but you have to use Numenera to play Numenera. I'm like, well, not really. I think it'd be a lot of fun if you actually took the rules of Numenera and applied them to a different system.
Sure.
It's a bit eclectic. Don't get me wrong. It's not something.
And a little more work.
Yeah, it's like
Certainly
it's not something
work.
I plan on doing anytime soon. But
Right.
it's possible, and I'm sure that there's somebody out there that would enjoy doing it and might be doing it already.
Exactly. So the other thing to remember here, I think, is you might not know what you want.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's easy to forget is that when you're talking about systems or edition wars and that kind of thing, there is nostalgia tied to this stuff.
Yeah.
There is a group of memories. There is your love for the game. So when I say I love Dungeons and Dragons, I'm not just saying that I love the core books or I love the rules. What I'm saying is, since I was 17 or 18 years old, I've loved the experiences that I've had with you and our other family members and my friends and those memories of buying all the books. It's like, that's a part of who I am.
Yeah, it's like D&D is my comfort zone. It's like if somebody says, hey, do you want to play an RPG? I'm most comfortable with D&D. You know, the nostalgia and everything together, it's like, if somebody asks me if I want to play Fate, I'm like, yeah, but I'm a little, I don't know, I haven't been playing for 10 years. So
Exactly.
I'm like, it's different. It's not that I don't like Fate as much, it's that it's a brand new thing to me.
No, I agree.
And it's like, it's not to say that I don't like it, but I'm like, oh, well, if you want to play D&D, I can pick it up anytime. I know the rules, and I can play, and I'm comfortable there, and I know what to expect. But, it's just...
It's comfort.
Yeah, for me,
and
it's
that's
comfort.
what I think it's easy to forget is when I'll see somebody who will openly say, this system is better than that system.
Yeah.
What I think is easy to forget is that as a human being, there's a part of me that's tied to that system that goes beyond rules and what I prefer at the table. And it's like memories with my dad and my family. So it's like whether I'm subconsciously or consciously thinking of that or aware of it, you're sort of saying that my memories aren't as good as yours.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. I don't want to get too esoteric with it, but I think nostalgia and experience and all the cool things that I've had happen in the D&D games are tied in with my opinion.
Exactly. It's more important than the opinion of, if you're doing this, you should do this.
Exactly.
Because a good example is cartoons or old video games that you've played. They may be terrible and may have been terrible at the time. But if you sat down and enjoyed them with no context of what quote-unquote terrible was, without realizing that reviews, if you sat down and you really loved a game, it's the kind of thing where that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if now you have a bit more context. You loved it so much at the time, and you can go back, and while you may realize, oh, this game isn't as straightforward as I thought. It's a lot more difficult than I realized. A good example is actually The Dig, LucasArts The Dig.
Yeah, man.
Really, really cool game, but the puzzles are a little too difficult and they don't give you enough clues, is what I learned when I went back and played them. But the nostalgia there for me is mind-blowing.
I know, man.
Like, it's just so much fun and awesome, and I remembered some of the puzzles, and it was cool, and it's like, there might be other point-and-click games that are head and shoulders above that game as far as game design. Like, that doesn't matter. I didn't play Sam & Max when I was a kid. I played The Dig.
Exactly.
Like, that will never be different.
Yeah, dude. And for me, it was The Dig and Full Throttle.
Oh, gosh, Full Throttle, man.
And I think take that as a point. And this goes to anyone listening to this. It's not a good idea when someone is bringing up LucasArts The Dig to take that opportunity because he's elated about it.
Exactly.
The feelings are welling up right now. It's not the best opportunity to pop that and go, yeah, but you know what a better game was? Because it's like, wait a minute, wrong time. So
it's like, what are we talking about here? Are we arguing, or am I telling you about my childhood? And
right.
It's like,
and I think here's the thing, because now I want to get into opinion and kind of the baseline of everything, which is I'll kind of let you tackle it, but I want to say one thing, and this is kind of an aside, because I don't want to focus on the negative of this. This topic is usually is very negative and it has a connotation that is inflammatory. And it's like, no, I don't want this to be inflammatory.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I will just suggest. I think that if you really want somebody to try a system that you like, I want to encourage you to not offer it up as a one-up, as a better alternative, or as something that is instead of.
Exactly. And actually, so think of it this way. When you were younger, or if you are young currently, or maybe you have a wife that doesn't want you leaving the house, if you want to do something, you know that there is a right time to ask somebody that you want something from them. The right time is not when they're upset with you. Somebody's mad at you.
Right.
You're not like, hey, I know we just had this big fight, but can you do me a favor? I'm like, no, you know in your heart that's a bad idea because they're mad at you and they're going to say no.
Right.
In that same way, it's the wrong time when you're in the middle of something else or potentially talking about someone else's favorite thing to tell them, well, you need to try my thing. It's like, no, now's not the time.
No.
Maybe one day you say, hey, we should make a night. I really want you to try my new favorite game.
Exactly. And even just doing that, even just waiting, maybe sending a personal message to them if you're on Facebook, or giving it some cool-down time. Because I think if you really want someone to try something that you enjoy, at its heart, however you're letting it manifest itself, whether you're being negative or positive, it's because you like it. Yeah. And deep down, you want them to like it too because you find that same enjoyment. The example that James and I have talked about before is, if he goes to an Italian restaurant and loves it,
yeah,
and he's telling me about that, is it the best idea during that conversation for me to go, oh, you think that's good Italian? No. I want you to come to this place with me. I'm going to show you real Italian. It's like I'm belittling his experience.
Exactly.
Here, what if I did this instead?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's another layer to this one.
Well, yeah, because okay, let's say I really want to do this. The best way is this. I let James tell me his story, and it's up to you. Play it by your social cues. I would probably wait until later.
Yeah, just later. You know, you're friends with this person.
Just later, we'd be talking, and I go, oh, hey, man, you know what? One of these nights, I know you're talking about Italian before. You love Italian. One of these nights, I'd love for you and Cassie and me and Shonda. Dude, I'd love to take you to this Italian place. I really want to show it to you.
Here's where I would change that slightly. I want to take you to my favorite Italian place. That's the thing. You're making it clear that you're like, hey, I want to take you to the thing that I love. I want you to experience it with me because I like you as a person and I want to do it together. You're not saying it's better or worse than what they enjoyed previously, and it's probably different. I mean, I've been to Italian places and the sauce is always different. There's no way that I could say, hey, can you make the Italian sauce like the guy down the street? Exactly. I was like, well, first of all, even if I knew what the guy down the street tasted like, this is my Italian. I'm not changing it.
Exactly.
Go to the guy down the street if you want the guy down the street.
So I want to include one caveat because I think that's amazing. I love that. Putting it, this is my favorite. It adds so much weight to it. There are people, and this will get a little negative, but this is just calling it like it is because I'm not going to ignore it. There are people who purposefully, they're inflammatory, they're small-minded fools, okay? They're going to, on your thread on Facebook, when you say, what's the best build for a fighter in 5th edition? And their answer is, Pathfinder, jackass.
And it's like,
ignore them.
Come on.
You're
This is not worth it, man.
Better than that. So there will be those people. It's not that. That's basically those people going, you're like, hey, I really tried this great Italian place. And they knock your leftovers out of your hand and kick you in the junk.
And
they're not looking to take you out to dinner.
Exactly. And it's like, just in general, in life, that's good advice. It's like, it's not worth worrying about.
So if a troll comes in and is like ringing their ugly bell, like, I love this system. I love D&D and Fate's stupid. Be like, all right, just ignore them.
Yeah. Because you're not going to get anywhere with certain people.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Can my opinion be wrong?
No. But, so this is where it gets a little hair-splitty, as far as the question you just asked me. Your opinion can't necessarily be wrong. Like, inherently, it's unable for what you think to be wrong, because you think it. Now, you can make statements that somebody can disagree with. So if you say, hey, I like D&D 5th edition because it's crunchier than Pathfinder, I'm allowed to say, I don't think D&D is crunchier than Pathfinder.
Agreed.
And I think that most people, in fact, I believe that is a fact. Would you say that's a fact?
I would say that's a definitely.
That Pathfinder is crunchier than D&D in all places.
I challenge anyone
general.
to prove to me
The opposite.
that D&D 5th edition is crunchier than Pathfinder. Rules as written, core rulebooks.
So,
Don't show me your Pathfinder mod and be like,
it's
cranky.
This is Pathfinder D&D. But that is to say that, like I said, so you're allowed to say that I like Pathfinder more, or vice versa, I like D&D more than Pathfinder,
Right.
or any system more than any system. They don't. I think that sometimes I like to use the example of D&D and Pathfinder, but sometimes I like to say, okay, so we're talking Pathfinder and Shadowrun, two fairly different. They're both a bit crunchy, but the rules are very different than each other.
Right.
And again, like I said, your opinion, if you say I like this more than that, can't necessarily be wrong. But I think that I'm allowed to, if you say I think Pathfinder is crunchier or a D&D is crunchier than Pathfinder, I'm allowed to say, well, let's have that discussion. It's not about what you think is better. It's about, no, I want to know what you think there, because I don't agree with that. It's not that your opinion is wrong. It's that your opinion may be based on facts that are weird.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
or
even
you
say
might
you're
be
wrong. I'm like, maybe you have
misinformed,
exactly.
confused. I mean, there are a lot of places to get information, and it's easy to read something or experience something and just listen. It's going to happen. But I agree with you 100%.
So, and the idea there is, okay, so we had that conversation, and you say, no, I really like 5th edition because it's so crunchy, and it's much crunchier than I hear Pathfinder is. That's when I can say, hey, we should play Pathfinder sometime. I really want you to try it to have a better idea.
Exactly.
I don't tell you that one is better than the other, and because that's the best way to really entrench someone in their argument is to tell them they're wrong. Even if they know they're wrong.
I know.
I'm like, go ahead and say, like, no, my thing is better than your thing, and I'm like, listen, I'm just fighting you out of spite at this point.
Right.
That's just human nature.
Sure.
Like, oh, you think you're better than me? I'm like, we're not even talking about the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just mad at you, you know?
And it gets worse and worse. And that's when it gets into, like, personal attacks and mudslinging. So, I think the thing I kind of wanted to round it off with that was important to me, nothing says you can't own and play every system that exists.
Exactly. Or you can't dislike any system. I think it's important to say that I don't mind people who don't like playing stuff. I personally am like open to play anything. I'm like, no, I'm interested in trying this or that or that. But if you're just like, no, I don't really want to try that, I'm not interested, that's fine.
Exactly.
But it's that fine line of saying, I'm not interested in that, rather than, oh, you're interested in something I'm not interested in? Well, I'm going to come into your Facebook thread and tell you that my thing is better.
Exactly.
Like, well, no, that's not how it... You can say you don't like it. I don't fault you for that. If you don't like Italian, I'm not going to take you to an Italian restaurant.
That's actually a really good point. And to just really go sort of weird and deep with that analogy, don't assume it's because they don't like it.
Exactly. That's a good point.
You know, some people get really bad reflux, and they got to stay away from Italian.
Exactly.
They
love it.
They love it, but they
it's
can't.
bad for 'em.
There's actually a girl that I work with who, this weirdest thing, if she eats lettuce, it wrecks her stomach.
Wow.
She can't eat lettuce. And so, which is really weird. But if I saw that at face value and was like, she's like, oh, I hate salad. It's not because she hates salad. It's because she hates what it does to her.
Exactly.
So again, kind of a weird sideways channel, but you don't know why. Their ex-girlfriend could have been huge into Pathfinder and kept all their Pathfinder stuff in the breakup, so it's painful for them.
Yeah, it could be anything.
You don't want to make assumptions. So
to that point, because like you said, we're sort of rounding it off there. But again, I feel like every single one of our charm monsters come to this point. Be nice to people. Don't assume things about them, and don't be inflammatory.
Yeah.
If you want to show somebody something, or if you have an opinion, the best way is to positively show your side. Like we talked about. If I really like 4th edition, and you really like 5th edition, I don't think that me playing more 5th edition is going to change what my favorite thing is. Or vice versa. If if that's something you love, I'm like, no, that was fun. I had a really good time with you. I like playing 5th edition with you, but I can't wait until we get to play 4th again. Now, as a disclaimer, I don't mind 4th edition, but I don't actually ever play it, and I love 5th edition.
Sure.
But that's the idea, is it's not about getting somebody to like your thing. It's like, no, I play Fate sometimes, but I play D&D sometimes. I'm interested to try other games sometimes.
Sure.
My favorite, I think, will always be D&D. But like we talked about,
it's got a lot tied to it.
It's got a lot that goes way beyond the rules and way beyond anything else. It's like, no, just this idea of D&D. Even if I never played it again, I would always love it because I'm like, no, it means so much to me.
Yeah, and there's such an extra layer for me. I don't want to drag this out, but I want to make it a point that when my daughter was born and she was in the hospital NICU, which is the, I don't know the acronym. It's basically infant ICU, neonatal ICU. I don't know. Someone put it in the comments.
Yeah, neonatal ICU.
It's the baby ICU. When she was in the baby ICU, the moment that she was stable, and they said, yeah, no, everything's going to be good, because she had some problems with her heart, and she was tongue-tied, and the whole thing. The moment that there was peace, and my wife finally was able to get some sleep, I drove to one of our local gaming stores, and it was right when the starter set had come out.
It was like the day.
Literally.
It was the Wizards early release.
It was the Wizards
Some
early
game
release.
stores have it.
And that was huge for me, because that starter set for me sort of marked something. I don't know. It was like everything was going to be okay. And when I drove to that store, it was the first time I had been able to breathe. And to go and buy the starter set, that's just not going to be what Fate or Pathfinder can replace. You can't replace that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I won't play Fate or Pathfinder.
It'll just never be that.
It just can't be that for me. So that's where Edition Warriors have it wrong, is it's not about fighting to get someone to agree with you.
They're like Crusaders.
They
I'm
are.
like, nah, bro. I'm like, thousands of years later, we realized that you guys were you just like fighting. Like, come on. Like,
Exactly.
That's just what it came down to.
And there are some out there. But you know what it's like? This is what I never want to be. It's not really Edition Wars. It's this guy running around in the Home Depot with a hammer, hitting himself on the left butt cheek, being like, this is better, this is better, this is better. And it's like, anyone in his path is like, uh-oh, get out of the way.
Yeah, like,
I'm engaged.
Like, dude, that Home Depot down the street is cool, but there's this guy in there. I'm like,
Yeah, so don't be an Edition Warrior.
I'm trying to paint a wall, and this guy comes up, and he's just like, hey,
This is
check
better,
out,
this is better.
check out the best hammer you've ever seen. I'm like, dude, my house is built. I'm just painting this wall.
I'm painting this wall.
I don't
and
need
look,
a hammer.
I'm teaching my daughter to paint with me. Isn't this lovely? This is stupid. You should totally get nails and hammers. Paint is so dumb. It's like,
dude,
so
I want to paint my wall. Like, just give me a break.
So yeah. So I guess, is there anything else you want to throw in?
No, like I said, I think that main theme, and I at some point I was afraid that all of them come down to this, but really, like, we could just do one Charm Monster where we say, don't be a jerk. And really, Charm Monster is just like us explaining how not to be a jerk. And it always comes down to the same thing. And I'm like, well, honestly, I feel like we get a lot of good points out, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it always coming down to,
No.
it's not about, it's not, your opinion isn't wrong. You know what I mean? There are different things tied to it.
And to me, just make sure that as you're just going about your day, the way to make sure that this can never happen. Edition Wars are over. The Crusades are over. There's too much free, readily available information, and with the internet, you can play online, you can play RPGs more than ever, with more people than ever. Let the Edition Wars end by trying something you've never tried.
Yeah.
By finding a group of people and giving something a shot and trying to build some new nostalgia.
Yeah. Okay, so there is one thing I wanted to add, and I meant to mention this earlier, but Ian Christensen of Fantastic Dimensions, the YouTube channel,
Love him.
does these little videos in his car. Usually, he's just tried a system, and he basically they're usually, like, the last one I saw was No Excuses, Play Stalker. I'm like, I don't know what Stalker is, but that's a cool name. Let's watch this. I don't remember how long it is, but say 5 to 6 minute video.
I was going to say, they're short. They're like 6 minutes tops.
Of him basically roughly explaining how the game works and why it's cool. And I'm like, there's no better way to learn, because if you want to learn a new RPG system, if you go download the Fate book, because I think it's pay what you want for the PDF,
Yeah.
you can just get it for free today. I'm like, yeah, but you got to read the whole thing. I'm
Right.
sure you could read reviews about it, but it's cool to see somebody that's well-spoken say, hey, this is why I like this game system. You guys should try it out. I'm like, dude, that made me want to try Stalker. I'd heard of it before, and I've seen the book, and I'm like, oh, maybe one day. But that really lit the fire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, tell people about your favorite games, but don't tell them that it's better than theirs. Just say, hey, you like that. Someday you should try this.
Here's another good thing to have in your
Check
life.
this out. We should try this sometime. That's
Exactly.
the biggest thing for me is we should try this sometime. Not this is better, because I would never want to play with somebody that came into my thread and said Pathfinder's better. I would love to try Pathfinder, but I don't have anybody to try it with.
Right, and I'm not going to try it with that guy.
Exactly. So if you come in and say, hey, I think Fate is really cool. I think it would really suit your style. Let's try it sometime. I'm like, dude, absolutely. Let's do that. That's the best way to do it.
And I'm going to drop another name. John Allen Large of the Red Dice Diaries actually did a video because I sort of requested it. Ian was doing those videos. I think it might have been Sam DiMercurio who was like, hey, we should come out with a series of these, and anyone who tries a new system should do it. And I totally tagged John Allen Large of the Red Dice Diaries in it. I was like, I'd love to see John do a Fate video.
Yeah, man.
And it was so good. I had never read the Fate book, but that video made me actually do exactly what you said. I went there. I think I paid $1 for it.
It's like that quick embodiment of, oh, that's what the system is about.
Exactly.
And that really helps because there are so many books that you can get. You can get samples of, you can read about, you can learn about, but it's rare that somebody just says, no, here it basically is. If that sounds cool to you, buy the book and we'll play it. I'm like, that's the best way to do it. So
do that. Make a video of your favorite system or look for videos of people doing those short synopses. So I do want to encourage everyone who's listening right now, if you haven't already, we want to invite you to come and game with us. We want to invite you to be a part of our community. And James and I are half of the independent publisher, Absolute Tabletop. We want to invite you to be a part of our Facebook group because it's where we set up games. It's where we do these exact things we're talking about.
Exactly. You can interact with us and, we'll come in your threads and tell you that Pathfinder's better.
Of course. I'll come in there.
That's all it's about.
Like a jerkwater on fire. But it's exactly what you think it would be. Facebook.com/groups/Absolute Tabletop. And
you can go there. Yeah. You can talk to people. You can set up games, play in our games, post your favorite videos. If you do make a video about your favorite system, absolutely go post it in there. We'll watch it, have other people see it, and, just spread the love, man.
Yeah, and it was actually really cool. Today, there was a post, what does it mean to be a hero? And people started going back and forth. And the post, I got a message from somebody saying, it's actually Dwayne W. He was like, hey, man, I just wanted to message you because I'm sitting next to this lady eating lunch, and we started having a conversation about what it means to be a hero, and she really needed to hear that. And he's like, man, I love this group. And I thought, dude, it's a cool group. So hop onto Facebook, join now, and be a part of the conversation. So as always, you can check us out on tabletopterrors.com. Check out absolutetabletop.com for all kinds of RPG supplements. And until next time, may your dice roll high.